Hello and welcome to my channel. This is another in my Easter 2018 card series. This card design is going to use up some paper scraps from an earlier design, which I will link to down below. Let me move this out of the way and start showing you how to create this card. As I go through the stamp sets that this used, don't panic because I use so many stamp sets because the design uses a few elements from many different stamp sets, and you may have a set that has everything you need in one. I didn't, so that's why there's so many, so don't panic. Okay, I'm using the Stampin' Up Products Snowflake Card Thinlits because I needed this banner here. I'm using the Basket Bunch because I needed this grass and that bunny. And I'm using the Hey Chick so I can get this little egg and this sentiment. Crazy About You so I could get Happy Easter. The Delicate Details so I could get these wonderful lace looking things. The Hardwood for this background. And I'm using the Blooming Florals by Sizzix. This is a stamp and die set. I'm also going to be using some ribbon which has Easter eggs on it. I'm going to be doing a little embossing, so I need my embossing buddy and some clear embossing powder. I also need some rhinestones. This card design is using two paper scraps. These eggs are scraps from when I did this card here. Every time I cut this, I did multiple of this, and every time I cut this frame out with this die set here, Easter Egg Frames by Fawn, each cut gave me a separate one of this egg. So I mentioned in that video that I was going to design a way to use this stuff, and that's what this card design is. So if you if you hadn't made this card first and you're starting with this one, then you will need a beige and a green. This green is the matte here, so that you can cut this out and get that. But of course you would end up with these two frames, so you will again be in the same boat that I am, which is trying to come up with a design to use your paper scraps. It's a never-ending process, these paper scraps in card making. But let's get started with this one. When I made this cut of the frame, I ended up with an extra one of these frames and of course this. So I decided to use that extra one to help me make a jig to line up the egg. So I've taken just some regular cardstock and adhered the frame down to it, and this will help me line it up in my MISTI tool. You of course didn't need this step, but I kind of wanted to go that route so I wouldn't have to worry about this moving anywhere. So this little egg just fits right in there. I'm going to emboss this, so I need to have my embossing powder ready to go because I'm going to do clear over black, and I've mentioned that in several videos now. So you just prepare the surface with your embossing buddy. This is to make sure that the embossing powder doesn't stick where you don't want it. And I'm embossing with the Versafine. Give a good press, and there we go. Now I'm just take it and dip this right into the clear powder. Make sure I get a good coverage, and then click off the extra. There we go. Set that aside. Now I'm going to do the other egg. Now I have the watercolor paper, and I've also prepared that for embossing, and I'm going to just emboss that one also. After I get all three items, I'm going to run my heat tool over them at the same time. For these eggs, I switched the eggs upside down so that the lace is on the top here and the bottom here to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm bringing a piece of paper and my blending sponges, and I'm just going to go and add some color to this. All right, very simple. All right, I have my MISTI back, and I've put the wood grain stamp on the door, and I'm bringing in the smaller of the two white pieces. I need a piece of paper, I almost forgot, to protect the work surface. And I'll just eyeball where I need it to be. And I'm going to ink this up with the desert sand. This is really very simple. The only reason I'm taking time to explain it is because I'm going to use the blender tool on this, and I wanted to show that on camera. So that's good. Now I'll just distress the edges, and I want to focus a little bit more on the edges to give it a little bit more weathered wood look. So I'll just finish this up real quick. Now I would like to show you how to watercolor this image. This will be the same steps that you do for any watercoloring with the Sizzix markers, and also it would work the same with the pencils, which I'll show in a bit. This is Bristol Smooth paper, which I should have mentioned, but it is. And this is the best paper with the Sizzix markers. So I'm going to highlight the outer edges of these roses with the light purple. Don't need a lot, just a little. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the darker purple in the center. And then I have a piece of paper towel and my water brush, and I'll just blend it out. And the color just flows right very easily. If you get a little bit too much water, just wipe it off onto the paper towel. All right. Now the rest of the card is just going to be to finish the watercoloring and go ahead and assemble everything. So I'm going to let the music run and put it all together. That's the finished card. I hope you like it. It was not too difficult to think of a way to use those little extra bits and pieces of paper, but you just have to be able to look beyond the initial design that you come up with and think of other possibilities. I had this extra piece of paper in case anyone was wondering, because of course I already had that beige egg. I didn't need to cut a new one. Okay, I'd like to thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. I hope you're enjoying the Easter series and all the other series of cards on my channel. I'd like to thank my brother David for the music that he's providing, and I hope that you have a great day. Take care, everyone.